Welcome back to the circus, where we are continuing the interior staircase build here in our ICF mountain loft house thing. Last episode we were able to get our skirt board stained and installed along with our treads and risers, and all of this turned out really nice. The wood matches our ceiling, matches our basement steps, everything's turning out great. Now, this episode comes the challenging hard part because I've never done it, just like most everything else in this build. And that is, we're going to try to build some custom box Newel posts for these railings. One up here, one down there, one here, and then some half posts right up against the wall at the ends for our railings. Again, never done this before. I'm gonna try and use S4S, like 1x6, 1x8 pine boards, and we're gonna miter them, fold them together. Hopefully we can build some boxes. I don't want to buy box Newels from the big box store because they're too expensive and I don't really like the style. I just want a simple post. Well, this is not as easy as the pros make it look on YouTube. First I tried to joint two edges using the electric hand planer, and that was a failure. Then I tried using a straight edge just prior to the edge of the board to ride it against the fence on the table saw to get my first jointed edge. And that worked great. But then when I tried to get the 45-degree rip cut, it just would not work on my table saw. I could not get a straight cut to save my life. I ended up reverting to just good old-fashioned skill saw and a straight edge clamped down to the board, and that was the most successful method. So I've got 4 mitered pieces here, one of which is completely wonky, I can't use it. The other 3 are good, so I think I'll end up using those other 3 when I make the half posts that go up against the wall. But now that I have it figured out, I'm going to go ahead and cut up another board and see if I can make another 4-foot post. Green Chef is a CCOF certified organic meal kit company that helps you cook clean, delicious dinners week after week with step-by-step recipes and pre-measured premium ingredients that save you time. They're changing the meal kit subscription game with options for every lifestyle, including keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean, and gluten-free. Ingredients come pre-measured, perfectly portioned, and mostly prepped. As the only keto meal kit on the market, Green Chef makes eating carb-conscious easy. My favorite dish so far is this Monterey chicken. This recipe is nutritious and delicious with a lot of high-quality, clean ingredients, but they made the recipe really easy to follow, so it was about 25 minutes from start to finish. Green Chef makes cooking easy, so you can spend less time stressing and more time enjoying these delicious home-cooked meals. I always look forward to the Green Chef delivery box because they rescue me on days of working long hours with no desire to cook a full meal from scratch. So try it for yourself. For $130 off plus free shipping on your first box, go to greenchef.com and enter code GuildbrookFarm130. Alright, I ended up taping it, gluing it. The tape didn't really stick too good because I used regular packing tape. So the next one I do, I'll use reinforced strapping tape that's 3 inches wide, and I think that'll work better. Ended up having to just clamp the snot out of it. And it's been drying for overnight. So we're going to see if we ended up with a mess or if this is going to be passable. I think I used every clamp I have. I've also got these Rockler corner clamps, which are pretty good. They work with 3/4 inch material. Got these from Northern Tool. Check them out. They work pretty good. Pull these off. So these are neat, these corner clamps. You can just stack them together when you're done. Cool. Tape. Yeah, this tape doesn't work good at all. So here's what we ended up with on our first attempt. It's not perfect, but it is not as bad as I expected for my first try. Got a half a post. All right, gonna let that dry overnight and see where we're at. So this is dried overnight. This is our second half Newel post using the reinforced strapping tape. See what we got. This stuff is super sticky. This works so much better than packing tape. That last piece of lumber, I was able to get 3 pieces out of it, machined and relatively straightened. This last piece is pretty much unusable. You can't plane that. That's like twice the width of the board in terms of twist. Update. I've been messing with these Newel posts for a couple days now, and I hate them. They're not turning out the way I want. They're too big and bulky. They're overwhelming the staircase. The miters aren't really turning out the way I wanted them to. I got so much twist in this board that I can't get out, and I don't have a surface planer really, so got a little bit of twist there. It's just not the way I want it to be. So I'm going to change strategies here. All right, here's my second attempt at building a box Newel. I'm using 1x6 yellow pine because that's what I could get, and it's still like $28 a board. So I'm going to cut this 16-footer into 4 4-foot pieces, and then we'll figure out the next part. Well, I'm in my newly set up shop, and it's already improved my productivity just having everything in one spot and having it all organized the way I need it. I'm able to use the drill press, the bandsaw, the grinder, all this stuff is like within a nice little 8-foot area. And then I have another station over there for the chop saw. Still working on building custom box Newel posts. I've got the final 3 posts cut, all the parts, but these were cut from 16-foot long boards, and they've got a little wave to them. They're going to need jointed and planed. So that brings us to today's Northern Tool and Equipment segment, which features this DeWalt planer. This is a DW735X. This is probably the best portable shop planer, small form factor that I've seen, and I've been dying to try it out. It's pretty heavy. It does like it'll do a 1x12 or 12-inch wide board. So I'm going to set it up, get everything figured out, and try and get these planed down. NorthernTool.com sells DeWalt, Milwaukee, all kinds of really good high quality brands, not just their own. And so check them out if you get a chance and you need a planer or any other tools. I'll leave links below to everything I use. We're going to get this set up, see how she works. All right, I just got it unboxed, set it up on a little makeshift bench. Looks pretty simple. It comes with this crank, a dust port, an extra set of knives, an in-feed table, and an outfeed table, and the manual. Pretty simple. All right, first we got to put the crank onto that little lug right there, and they give you a T-handle just for that. Cool. Now you can either use a smaller, looks like a 2-inch dust collection port, or the larger 4-inch. We're going to use the 4-inch because we've got the Dust Right 4-inch dust collection hose. Push this pin in and rotate. There we go. You don't want to use this without this connected. Now to attach the in-feed and out-feed tables is real easy. Just put them on these little tabs here, and these push in. So you just kind of folds up, folds down. Easy. That took about 3 minutes to set up the whole thing. Now the controls are pretty simple. You move this only when the blades are spinning, but you got 179 cuts per inch to do finish work, or 96 cuts per inch to do dimensioning. either way. It just makes the blade spin faster or slower. Over here is your final finished workpiece dimension. So if you set your crank to what you want it to be, that'll be what you end up with. Right now I'm going to test with this 1x6 piece of material. It's actually 3/4 inch thick and 5.5 wide. And I want to take about 1/8 of an inch off of each side. So instead of going by this, you can go by this material removal gauge. So give it a little bit of room and then put this in here about 3 inches. Now with a 6-inch wide board, which this would be, I want to take 1/8 of an inch off. We want that little red arrow to go to the right place. So we're going to crank down, and as you go, it's going to show you for a 6-inch board, there's about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and try about a 1/16 of an inch for the first pass, just because I haven't done this yet. Okay, we're about to give this thing a shot. One last thing to note, this has a fan-assisted ejection port where the dust port is. So you don't really want to hook a shop vac up to this, because this thing forces chips out faster than most shop vacs can handle it. If you don't have an actual dust collector, just let it, use it outside and let it blow out that port. See what she does. Man, made short work of that. That thing's awesome. I love that self-feeding deal. This thing is going to be a huge help for finishing these box Newels. Sweet. All right, well, this one I was pretty meticulous with, trying to make sure everything was done right. So using that straight edge against the table saw fence to basically let me joint the board really helped. So I jointed one side and then used that side as the reference against the fence to cut the first 45, flipped it, cut the other 45. And these miters are real nice. So my biggest challenge now was getting it all taped up and everything square. And once this dries tomorrow, I'll roll the edges a little bit, sand it, get it to basically look like a nice post or a beam of some sorts. So I've been trying to figure out how I want to attach this bottom Newel. And so I made this. Cut a bunch of 4x4 blocks, lag bolted the bottom 3 together down in through the floor joist, and then built it up with another 3 layers. Crisscrossed the grain pattern as I went. So I've got, 5 inches or so for a base that box Newel will slide right down over, and we'll put a whole bunch of construction adhesive in there and then pin the bottom of it to that block, and hopefully we can get her leveled up and sturdy. All right, just finished this one up. This definitely takes a little practice and patience. First time I did these on 1x8s, obviously those were way too big. I had a little bit of luck, but I didn't joint the boards well enough. This one I got lucky. I didn't have to plane it at all because it didn't have any wave. Your boards have to be perfect, basically, in order to do mitered box Newels. So I taped and glued them, let it sit overnight, and then I went along it and rolled the corners with this piece of brass round stock, which seems to work pretty darn good. Closes up that tiny little seam, and then hit it with some sandpaper. Makes it seamless. Looks exactly like a 6x6 post. Definitely labor intensive. Is it worth it? I don't know yet. But I couldn't find any just plain box Newels online that were affordable. And the box Newels at Lowe's, I just didn't like the style. They were like $200 and some, but I don't know. So I cut a four-way miter thing on this as a cap. Had to sand it down a little bit, and it finally fits. I'm not going to put this in yet. I'm going to end up having to make all the parts, get them set temporarily, and then cut and fasten the rail and get it right. And then I'll fasten the rail in from the inside here. Then I'll put the cap on. I was going to stain it and seal all of the parts individually before I set it, but there's so much moving around and getting it, I'm going to just get it all done at the very end. A little bit of sanding, and that'll fit just nice. Well, after I did about 3 or 4 of these incorrectly, I finally figured out a little system to do it correctly. It actually works great now that I know what I'm doing. So you don't have to buy solid 6x6 posts that will check and crack and twist over time as it dries out. Once you get these boards milled down and correctly jointed and sanded and all that stuff, miter them together, you got a permanent post. So I can build beams, I can build mantle pieces or anything like that now. These are just temporarily sitting here on their mounting blocks. I built them about 1 inch longer than they need to be on purpose, just for fitting and to make sure that I had enough height. This rail here will be 36 inches off the floor, so I'm going to go ahead and trim all these down to their finished final length, permanently affix them to the blocks using some nails and PL Premium liquid nails construction adhesive. Then in the next video we're going to go ahead and start on the shoe rail and build the rail. And then after that we will stain and finish everything all in one pass. So even though this took me a heck of a lot longer than I really wanted it to, I'm glad I did it and I'm glad I figured out what I'm doing, because it's just one more set of skills to have, and that's fun. So when we finish out the rest of this rail, we'll see you in that episode. Thanks to Green Chef for sponsoring today's. Thanks to you for watching, and we'll see you next time.